This conference will now be recorded.
Hello everyone, good morning and good evening.
Good morning.
Mm, so many things today, so many beautiful things today. I don't know really where to start from. So let's start from where we have stopped our class in the basic networking. Yes, Badri. My name is Imran. You can call me by my name. You don't need to call me sir. Okay. So we'll finish what we had started yesterday, and then we are going to see some networking commands. We will see some Vagrant, multi-VM Vagrant files. So many nice things today. Okay. Okay. So we're discussing about networking yesterday, and we been talking about protocols. So in networking, we have two major kinds of protocols, two main protocols, and everything is divided in those protocols. We have TCP based protocols and UDP based protocols. Okay. TCP based protocols like FTP, HTTP, HTTPS, these are TCP based protocol, and they are called as reliable protocols. TCP, all the TCP protocols are reliable protocols. Reliable as in, if you are sending an email, or if you're uploading your picture, or if you're posting a video, you're using HTTP, HTTPS, which is TCP. So there is a guarantee that it will go as it is. Have you ever seen you posted your picture and some part of your face is missing, your ear is missing, or one eye is missing? Get everything there, right? I don't know if someone experienced that. That will be quite scary, but it will. You have the surety that whatever mail you're composing in Gmail, it is going to go as it is. Okay, you have total reliability, right? So it's because there's so many things that in the TCP protocols happens. First of all, TCP connection is connection oriented. So when you're like uploading a picture, there will be connection between you and the server till the connect till you have not uploaded the picture. That's one example. And before the transmission begins, there is a three-way handshake in TCP protocol. Three-way handshake will do the confirmation. There will be acknowledged. So if the client is trying to send the data, the server will ask more detail, and more details will be sent, like what is the size of the data, encryption or not, and so many other things, port numbers, protocols. And once everything is agreed, okay, it's like shaking the hand, they say, right? It's like more about acknowledgement, three-way handshake. Once that is complete, then the data will start transmitting. So before the data transmit, there will be some you can see kind of discussion between client and the server. Okay, they agrees to these points, and then the data sending starts. While you are sending the data travels in the form of packets. I hope you have seen the video, you know, traveling on the highway, the cars. Have you seen the video?
Mm.
Dawn of network? Yeah, good. So, it's good for imagination now. So I can talk to you in that language. Only Vishal saw it, I guess. Come on, you don't have 12, 15 minutes in your life to watch a video. Like you'd be watching tons of video from WhatsApp and here, there. Okay, just give me a moment. Ouch, I hurt my knee. Okay, let me muted you. Okay, so yeah. So watch the video if you're not seen it, okay? So when the packets are traveling on the network, there are chances of accidents. The packets may get dropped, one or multiple packets may get dropped. But in TCP based protocol, there will be proper count sequencing of the packages, of all the packets. If a packet is lost, it will be asked for retransmission, right? So if your while your image is traveling on the network, if your nose packet dropped, right, or if your hairs packet drops, so you don't have any hairs, you know, like that packet drops, the server is kind enough to say, okay, this packet is dropped, can you resend it, like that. So it will be count sequence, it will be in the sequence: one packet received, second packet received, third packet received, fifth packet received, okay, where's fourth packet, retransmit, like that. So there is a reliability, and most of the application for the guaranteed delivery will use TCP protocols like FTP, HTTP, HTTPS, SSH. These are all TCP protocol. SSH, right? When we do SSH, we are sure whatever command we are executing, the same command gets executed on the system, and the reply also come properly. Okay, TCP. Now, UDP protocol. UDP protocols are unreliable protocol. You'll say, okay, thank you, we are not going to use it, but really it's not our choice. Okay, it's the application that uses the protocol. It's connectionless. But you'll be thinking, why will we use unreliable protocol, really? See, when the TCP, there's so many things that's happening: three-way handshake, error detection, counting of the packet, all those things. It's connection oriented. So there is so much of time that is spent on all these things. I'm sure you'll not notice it, but when you have huge data that is being sent, this will be noticed. In UDP, it's not unreliable, but it is fast. The packet size is going to be huge. It will send the data in bulk and forget about it, whether it reaches or not, no concern. Okay, no acknowledgement. It doesn't wait for any acknowledgement. Like, I'll just send it this much of data, okay, and whether it is received or not doesn't matter. So there is no proper sequencing also. But when speed matters more than reliability, then UDP protocols are considered, like DHCP. When the computer is booting up, DHCP is a UDP based protocol. So the computer is booting up, it will ask for an IP. It's IP to anyone in the network, which will be heard by a DHCP server, which is in your Wi-Fi router. So when your VM is coming up, or when your laptop is coming up, it will send a DHCP request, and it will send it fast. It will send it again and again until it doesn't get it. So even if it is transmitting and it's not being received by the DHCP server, so it doesn't matter to it. It's not waiting for the reply also, acknowledgement. It will, as long as it doesn't get the IP, it will keep sending that again and again in bulk size, because IP is the very primary thing for a computer to be on the network. So it should get IP very quickly. Right, so such kind of differences are between TCP and UDP protocol. Okay, sure, there are more differences, but that's good for now. When I start cloud computing and all that time, you'll understand why I'm talking about these things. Okay, this is this is one of the most important slide of the class: protocols and port number. And there are more port number and more protocols that you have to by heart. Okay, DNS, port number. So anyways, there are a lot of protocols, and protocols will have a standard port number. So what are these port number? So let's say you're going to meet someone. Okay, you're coming to meet me. All right, I would be, let's say I'm in a room taking a meetup. Let's say there is a meetup, I hosted a meetup, everyone, all the student has to come, or if they want they can come. Okay, some new technology, I'm giving some meetup. You have a meetup, so it's in the office, but it's on the so and so room number, so and so floor, so and so room number. So you know the address of the building, you know the address of the office, you come to the office, right? But in the office there will be multiple classrooms, multiple rooms, multiple classrooms, and I would be in one of them. So you have to know the number of the classroom which would have given to you. So while you're coming, you have the destination in your mind. I will go to this address and room number 3, like that. So your address is the analogy of IP address. When you are trying to access a service, a web service or a SSH service, you give the IP, and in the IP is of the network interface, or you can for now say it's of the computer. But in the computer there will be multiple services running: HTTP, SSH, HTTPS, SMTP. There could be multiple services running. These services will have a port number. It's like a doorway to get into that service, to access that service. Like you have a room number for for you to meet me. Like that, when you come to the IP address, and then you give the port number. Okay, this is the port number, and the computer will send it to you to the right service. All right. So these are doorways. All right. Or you can also think about, like, um, have you gone to a hill station? You know, there'll be sometimes there'll be hills, and there'll be a lot of course, hill station. There'll be hills. There are what do you say? A lot of tunnels. Okay, tunnels, like that, tunnels. So when you drive your car, you'll see tunnel number this, tunnel number that, tunnel number that. Tunnel number 1 will take you to this place, tunnel number 2 will take you to that place, tunnel number 3 will take you to that place, like that. It's multiple holes in the hill. Okay, so like that, these port numbers are doorway to access that service. Every service will have a default port number, default, but it can be changed. Okay, if you want, you can change. Like HTTP, HTTPS, we really don't change for if we are hosting it for public. Like when I say www.google.com, I have to I have to specify the port number, www.google.com. So by default, it's running on port 443 HTTPS. I don't need to give it. But if it's running on a different port, then I have to give the port number here in the browser, colon whatever 4545, like that. So default port will be known by the client. The browser knows the default port of HTTP and HTTPS. If you're using non-standard port, then you have to specify like this. Same for SSH. When we do SSH, by default, it will use 22 port. But if you're running SSH on a different port, then you have to specify the port number. Okay, we'll deal with different non-standard ports also so many times in the class. So by heart this one till not till everything. EFP, Apple protocol, fine, you can ignore, but DNS, HTTP, HTTPS, SMTP, POP, sometime out of the blue moon, I'll ask you what is the port number of this one when I'm setting some firewall rules. Okay, you have to tell me. It's important for you to remember, otherwise you won't be able to do this. You won't be able to connect services. Here every service runs on a port. Nginx runs on port 80, Tomcat on 8080. Okay, RabbitMQ some 116 something, MySQL 3306. So they all run on a port number, and it's mandatory for you to know the port number of the service that's running. Otherwise, you won't be able to connect these services. Clear? All clear? Now say everyone. Receive. See, these are the listening port. So when you're accessing this service, so let's say the Tomcat is on port 8080. Okay, it runs on port 8080. So it's listening on port 8080, like that we say. So when Nginx is trying to access Tomcat on port 8080, for Tomcat it will be incoming port, inbound. Okay, for Nginx it will be outbound. It's sending, trying to access it on that particular port. Yeah, some protocols are like that, Hardeep. You have DNS also, sorry, you have UDP also, you have TCP also. That depends on their requirement, how they are being used. Now DNS is used by so many applications. It is used by your basic network interface. When you use your browser, it will use internally. So some application needs TCP based DNS, some application needs UDP based DNS. Okay, some people need reliability on the DNS. I'm going to talk about the DNS service now. So DNS is this service that, okay, it's like that. Computer does not understand names. Yeah, it doesn't understand name. It doesn't understand the English. It understands numbers. So if you want to refer to a computer in a network, there is an IP address to it, and you have to connect on that IP address. Okay, a Google server, Facebook server, Instagram, Swiggy, Foodpanda, any server on the network will have an IP address for sure. Without IP address, it doesn't have any network. It's identification, it's soul, you can say. Now think about, computer does not know names. Computer only computer only understand IP. And now you have, how many sites do you access in a day on an average? 15, 20, right? Something like that, or more than that. Some people are too tech savvy, net savvy, right? So you'll keep visiting different websites. Now I'll tell you, there is no name to the website. You have to access them with the IP address. Okay, probably you'll try to remember few. Then after that, you will start preparing an Excel sheet. Google IP address is this, Facebook is this, Instagram is this. Okay, I'm hungry. Food Panda this. Okay, Swiggy this. All right. Okay, I want to purchase something. Amazon, Flipkart. Amazon IP this. Flipkart IP this. So you prepare an Excel sheet, and whenever you want to access now Amazon, you will check your Excel sheet and you'll put the IP address in the browser. Right? So much inconvenient. And why are we doing that? We remember so many names. We human beings are good with names, but not good with numbers. Okay, like memorizing number, you can't memorize that many number, and that's why we have phone book and all. In the phone book we have name to phone number mapping, not the other way. So now think about the same concept. You have the Excel sheet, and then you have to maintain and manage it and update it. There are so many websites that is getting updated every day. Now think about, there is one server, one computer that's managing an Excel sheet for you. So you just tell that computer www.google.com, and the computer will say, okay, this is the IP address, and don't worry, I will access the site for you. I will use that IP address. That's what is DNS server. DNS server will have this Excel sheet, not exactly Excel sheet, but similar kind of data. Okay, name to IP mapping or IP to name mapping, and there are so many different kinds of mapping. So DNS server will have the list of all the IP to name mapping, not all, how much ever it needs. Okay, so when you try to access, it will resolve your name. You will say, okay, facebook.com. The request first goes to the DNS server. Whenever you use a name, the request goes to DNS server. The DNS server will give its IP address, and even though you don't see it here, but when you do this, it goes to DNS, gets the IP, and internally now it's using the IP address, not the name. Computer internet doesn't understand name. They understand only IP. If your network has to pass, it passes through routers. Your packets has to pass through router, and router doesn't understand the names. It understands IP. Okay. So that's how DNS, we'll see in AWS Route 53 more about DNS. We'll set up DNS also in AWS Route 53. So how does DNS work, like your name resolution work? So all right, everybody at their home will be using internet, right? And to use the internet, you definitely need a DNS server. So where is your DNS server? Have you set up a DNS server at your home? So where is your DNS server? No. Internal, no. Okay, so your DNS server will be with the internet service provider. Okay, yes, with the service provider, internet service provider. That's their main job, man. after giving you an IP and that cable, that's their main job, to maintain their DNS. Because whenever you try to access anything, it goes to their ISP DNS. From there, the ISP DNS will resolve the name to IP, and then the network will start flowing. Okay, then your data start transmitting. Okay, now think about, you have like thousands of computers in a room, sorry, in a building, and everybody is accessing internet, and they're going to the same ISP DNS, right? At the same time, there will be a lot of delays because of that. Sure, you must have great bandwidth and all, but that's unnecessary choking of the bandwidth. Everybody is going to the ISP to resolve their IP address. So company will set up its own local DNS also. It will be cached DNS server. So that there are two benefits of local DNS server. One, it will cache all the IP name mappings to the local DNS. The second is, I'm talking about thousands of computers, and computers will have IP address. So how about naming our own computers, right? Name to IP mapping of our own computer local in our network, and keep that information in our local DNS. That's what local DNS will be helpful. Two benefits. Okay. Now, if you're trying to access some website, it will go to your local DNS first. If local DNS doesn't have that entry, then it will send it to ISP DNS. Now, there are chances so many times that the ISP DNS also doesn't have that entry. Probably it's a new, something latest website or unknown website that doesn't have. So then it will send it to request to the root DNS server. There are 13 root DNS server in the world at 13 different locations. These DNS server will have address of all the computers on the internet. It's IP and name. Okay, all of them. If they don't have it, then you're not on the internet. You can say like that. At least not with the name. So this root DNS server, how do they get all the entries? Well, people will register their site, right? They purchase the domain from GoDaddy, Namecheap, Amazon, Route 53. They purchase their domain, and they give the entry there that this is my computer name and this is the IP address. And this information will be sent to all the 13 root DNS server. And these 13 root DNS server will populate it around the world. So all the ISP will cache that information. Right? Long procedure, but it happens. We are going to do this one. We are going to purchase a domain also. By the end of the class, I'll ask you to purchase a domain also, a cheaper one, don't worry, because we would be doing a lot of real-time work, production work. So we will need this kind of infrastructure. Interesting, right? You'll love it. So that's how DNS work. Now DHCP, I've been already telling you about DHCP. DHCP service is very simple service, uh, and that's why it's come rolled with routers and switches and all. Simple. It has a pool of IP address. A computer boots up, sends a UDP DHCP request. I need an IP. The DHCP server will listen to it and respond saying, "Well, this is your IP address. Take it and go." Okay, computer receives the IP address. That's all. And then there are more in DHCP, but that's what the purpose of DHCP service is. So you definitely need a DHCP nowadays because there are a lot of computers, they come on and off. So giving them static IP manually is very cumbersome task. DNS definitely you need to access the internet with the name. Okay, like that. Excuse me. Okay, now IP addressing and subnetting we'll talk later when we start VPC, AWS VPC. That time I'll explain you and make you understand about different IP address, how to subnet them, how to divide the network and all. Because in the VPC, that's what we have to do, AWS VPC. All right, but that's later, not now. Now we'll do some fun activities. Okay, are my VMs up? All right, so there I have CentOS. Let's log into it. I can SSH. Now let's implement some of our knowledge. Well, before I go that, what is the hypervisor that I'm using? What's the name of my hypervisor? Name. Okay, yeah, it's type 2. Fine. That was the next question. Oracle VM VirtualBox. Okay. Other people, please, you also participate. Okay, now true or false question one. Is Vagrant a hypervisor? True or false? Very good. Vagrant is not a hypervisor. You can think it as a robot. Okay, it's an automation tool which contacts your hypervisor. All right. Okay, give me some example of type 1 hypervisor. Oh, you can talk also if you want. Okay, VJ, you're wrong. Hardeep is right. Kiran is right. Yes, Neer is right. Okay. Zen, yes. Sheikh Rahim, you are also right. All right. VJ has said VMware, and I said wrong. You agree? Yes, Kiran, that too qualifies. Yeah. Why?
Because it is over the OS and it's not on the bare metal and we don't use in production.
No, 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 no. Wrong. That you're talking about difference about type 1 and type 2. I'm just talking about VMware has all types of hypervisor, type 1, type 2, and even if there is some new type, that also it will have. Okay, here it is. I have a car. Okay, okay. Let's talk about bike. Let's say I have a bike, um, or moreover a scooter, Honda Activa. I don't have it. That's just an example. So, if you're asking me a question that what bike do you have, and if I tell you Honda, so what will you say? Is Honda a bike?
Okay, so the VMware, he did not specify which VMware.
Honda is the name of a company,
Yeah.
not the bike name. VMware is the name of a company, not the hypervisor name. Now, VMware has a lot of type 2 and type 1 hypervisor. ESX, ESXi, that's type 1 hypervisor from VMware. Then VMware Server, VMware Workstation Player, these are type 2 hypervisor from VMware. So don't say VMware, VMware is the name of a company. I have screwed on this point so many people in the interview, okay? They've written in the resume hypervisor VMware. I don't know what hypervisor is this. I've never used it. Really. And you should know what a hypervisor is if you are putting it in your resume. Clear? Okay. Hmm. So a DNS at your ISP service provider is down. Do you have access to internet? Badri says no. Anyone else? Say yes, no, whatever you feel. Come on. Okay, most of the people say no. Okay, I disagree. We have still the access to the internet. See, DNS is a name to IP resolution service. You can even use the IP address. If you know the IP address of the computer that you're accessing on the internet, if you know Google IP, Facebook IP and all, you still can access them. So the network is not going down. Network is still up. Just the way you access it is changing. All right. And again, those IPs are dynamic, it changes. It's not a reliable method, but that doesn't mean that the internet is down. Internet is always up and running for you. Okay, with the IP, as long as you have network connected with your ISP provider, your ISP is routing your traffic, your internet is on. Even if the DNS is goes down, even DSCP goes down. As long as you have the IP and you are connected to the network with the ISP. Okay, so keep that in mind. I'll show you how to find the IP and all. By simple ping command you can find IP address of anything. You just say ping www.google.com. That's the IP of DNS, Google right now. You try to do, you may get a different IP because you may be accessing a different load balancer of the Google. Okay, google.co.in. See, that's a different IP, google.co.in. Okay, or you have other command nslookup, and you say www.google.co.in. This will give information in much in detail. nslookup. So so that's the DNS server IP. Okay, this is the DNS server IP. All right, which is resolving this name to this IP. Okay, that's the IP of the google.co.in, and this is the DNS server that is resolving that IP. This is definitely with my ISP provider. If you have a local one, you can get information of that. Okay, so these are some basic commands. All right, so quiz time over. Let's do some exercise. I'm going to install, so first let me confirm what's the operating system center 6.10. Okay, now I'm going to host a website by using HTTPD service. HTTPD service uses HTTP protocol. Okay, the service name is Apache HTTPD. It uses the protocol HTTP and the port number is 80. And I'm going to host a website. First, let's install it. Yum install HTTP PD. Now we installed HTTP previously also, but this time we'll host some proper website on it. Okay, it's already installed, and to the latest version it is saying fine. Let's check the service status. Service HTTPD status. Now I'm using service command, not systemctl command. Why is that? Right, CentOS 6, older version of operating system. Good going, people, you're learning. All right, HTTPD service is running. We also need to check whether it's enabled or not. Oops, all right, anyway, HTTPD config hyphen. This is gonna show me all of it. Whenever you start a service, make sure it's enabled. Okay, so you need to be focusing on this one, 5 and the 3 number. These are called as run levels. It should be on. That means the service is on. Okay, 3 and 5. About run levels, there are different run levels in the Linux operating system, and you can boot it to any of one run level at a time. Right now I'm at run level 3. Run level 3 is okay, so let's go with the beginning. Run level 1 will be very basic operating system. There won't be network and other things will be, no, nothing will be active. Mostly this run level is used for troubleshooting, just like Windows safe mode. Okay, then you have run level 2, which we never use. Run level 3 is complete operating system is booted with all the services but non-graphical. Okay, non-graphical, and most of the server runs on run level 3. Then you have run level 5, that will be all the operating system comes up, all of the services which has to come up, plus graphics, if you need graphics and all, right? Desktop based, run level 5. All right, run level 0 is power off. If you want to switch to a run level, you have to say init and the run level. So if I say 0, it will be power off. Run level 6 is reboot. It's going to shut down and come up again. Okay, so my service is active on run level 3 and 5. That's fine, that's what I need. Good. Now there is a directory var www.html. This directory is called as the document root directory of Apache. Document root directory. So whatever website data that you have, the developer has created, the HTML files, all of it, you place it over here. The HTML files, CSS, images, okay, all of that you place in this directory, and HTTP service will host it for you. And in this, the first file is index.html. So you can write this file. You should have an HTML content in this. Even if you don't have HTML content, you can put something like, hi, this is my first website. I know it's ugly, but I did it. Okay. So index.html file is the file that you see on the browser when you hit a website. That's the first file that shows to you. Okay, now let's get the IP address ifconfig. So that's the IP address. And yeah, we'll restart the HTTPD service HTTPD restart. Whenever we make any change to the service, we have to restart it. Yeah, you see, done. Yeah, I know you're not so much pleased, but I'll do something nice. Okay, so my browser goes and access this site on protocol HTTP, and the port number is 80. So HTTP's default port is 80, but if you want, you can change it. Like I can change the default port for in the HTTPD configuration file, but it doesn't look good. User is giving the port number every time accessing my site. Okay, so for public websites, we don't change the port. We keep the default 80 or 443. Okay, there is difference between 80 and 443 that we'll discuss later. So I don't need to provide the port 80 because browser by default goes on port 80. Okay, all right, let's do something nice. There is a site, twoplate.com. Here you will find beautiful HTML and CSS templates. Okay, you can choose any one. Let me see. That's one of my favorite. Okay, there are much more better templates. Hold on. What is this? Mason? No, flight. Probably let's go for flight. Okay, like a flight booking site, right? This is a template. The developers will use the template to set up their front ends for their website. So you click on the download here, and it will download a zip file. Open up the zip file. Okay, in the zip file, I have this content, this directory 2093 underscore flight. Inside that, there you see index.html file. So if I put all this data in var dub.html directory, it will show this index.html file, and this file is going to refer to all the images and CSS and designing over here. Okay, so there are two ways to download this to my server, to my VM. One is I have to copy it. I have it downloaded on my local machine. I can copy it. So to copy from Windows to Linux, you have a tool called as WinSCP. Okay, I don't have it. I have to download it. WinSCP. That's a graphical tool. Okay, you give the IP, you give username, password, and it will open up. It's a very popular one actually. I don't know if you ever heard about it or not, but if you're into Linux and Windows machine both, you have definitely used WinSCP. So if you want to copy some data from Windows to Linux, if you want to do it from Linux to Linux, there's already a SCP command. Okay, you can use that. I'll have to set up a user man here. I don't know if password based login did we enable. etc ssh sshd. Password authentication is no, so I won't be able to access with the password, so I'll say yes. Service ssh restart. Oh, sorry, it's sshd in CentOS. Okay, good. So host name, let's give the IP address. This gives the username Vagrant, password as Vagrant. Login. Yes. So left hand side, right hand side. Left hand side is your system, right hand side is the server, Linux server. So if you want, you can copy data like that. Just drag and drop. So it goes to the home directory /home/vagrant. Okay, you can check in the system. ls/home/vagrant. You see that PDF is copied. So like that you can do copy paste, drag and drop, simple. So that's one way. Now I don't use this way. What I use is either I can use scp from git bash. So git bash has a lot of Linux command. Scp is one of them. So scp, you can give the directory path. It's here, file path, downloads, sorry, c users, username, downloads, and what's the final 2093. Okay, vagrant @ IP, oops, 192.168.0.5 :/ give the path. So I'll say temp directory. Okay, host identification field, just a moment. If you get this error, open up this file, known host file, and clean everything. Just delete everything. You can use the dd command, host identification field. Yes. Okay, now scp also uses ssh. Okay, and ssh default port is 22. So I don't need to specify here port. When I use scp, by default means the data is going to get transmitted on port 22. Okay. ssh vagrant @ 192.168.0.5. When I'm doing ssh, I'm using ssh command, and that command knows that it has to access it on port 22. But if you are going to use a different port, if your ssh service is running on a different port, then you specify the port number -p, and then you give the port number, let's say 2323, and then you give your username and @ your IP. So then it will access SSH on port 2323. Okay, but the service should be running on that port. Okay. All right, I copied some data over here. So to copy from Windows to Linux, you can use WinSCP, or you can use the scp command from git bash. But instead of doing all this circus, you have a command that will install yum install wget. Anyways, not circus. Anyways, I have to tell you all those things. wget, and you give the URL. Find your download URL. So that's a download URL. When I click on it, downloads the package. So right click, copy link address, and then paste it here. Okay, it should have a proper name and the extension. It's a zip file, so we are going to give it a name. So you have to say -O and give some name to your package. like website.zip, something like that. When you use the URL, make sure it's a download URL. One thing. Second thing, that URL should have some extension at the end, like zip, var, exe, something, or some file extension. If it doesn't have a file extension, there is a chance either you have a wrong URL or the URL is not giving the proper name. If the URL is right, then you have to give the proper name to your package which you're downloading, like this. Okay. Oh, mget I have not used for multiple get, I guess. Let me see. Okay, I will find that out. Let me see. Sounds interesting. Now you have the website package. Let's unzip it. For unzip, we will need a tool, unzip. Yeah, no, for copying data, we don't perform sync. Sync is to, most of the time when you want to sync data between two server, we, for backups and all, for restoration and all, we use sync. But copying data, moving data from one place to other place, you just use SCP. Okay, unzip is already there, so let's unzip our package, and we know it will have create a directory. Right, and all this content you have to put it in var dev.html directory. So we will say cp-r recursively because there are directories here. I'll say star, copy all the content from this current directory to var dev.html. Oh, it's asking there's already index.html file. Overwrite, yes, sure. Okay, let's go to var dev.html. So all the data is here. And remember, in this HTML directory, you need to have index.html, which is going to be the page that it shows on the browser. Now let's restart service httpd restart. Okay, very well. Now let's try to access the site 192.168.0.5. No, what happened? Oh yeah, sorry. See, site is hosted. You can start booking your flight, but it's just a front end. There is no back end on it. So it's just a template. Okay, just a view of a website. Okay, it's not going to have any database, no connection at the back end. All right. So like that, you hosted. You are accessing the site on port 80. There will be a port. So that's the command netstat-antp to check all the open ports, all the TCP open port. Okay. So port 22 is listening on all the IP. 0.0.0 means all the IP. Okay. And you'll have HTTPD. That's the process number. Okay. Process ID of the HTTPD service. Port 80. And you can grep it also. Pipe grep 80. Okay. So with netstat command, you can find the process ID also. Or with the process ID, then you can find 3864. That's the process ID. Right. So let's say you already know the name of the process. So you'll say ps-ef grep httpd. You find the process. So let's find the parent process ID, and in the netstat, you can look for the parent process ID 3864. Oops, I have to grab. And you found it. So this process has opened up a port. It's port 80. This is very good for troubleshooting. Okay, these commands that I'm showing you. So with the process ID, you can find out what port number it is open on, or with the port number you can find the process ID, vice versa. Okay, depends on different situation. Now another command. Let me log into Ubuntu 16. How do I give right permission? No, when you open up WinSCP session, it will open up the user's home directory. Simple. So your home directory of the user will have full permission. Okay. If you want to be in a different directory, then first you have to change the permission of that directory to copy data over there. But it's not a good way. User should have access to the home directory. That's all, normal user. And then you can copy the data into the home directory, and from there later you can move with the root user privilege. I know what you already got that error. I understand that. You're trying to access a different directory. The user should access the same directory. What he's asking is you will also get this problem. Someone will tell you copy this directory, copy this data to this directory. Okay, now I'm copying with Vagrant user, but let's say I want to copy it in opt directory. Let's see if that works. Permission denied. Okay, it's getting permission denied. It doesn't have permission on the opt directory. Who? Vagrant. Vagrant will have permission on its home/Vagrant. That's for sure, home directory. Other temp directory also you can use. Before copying temporary files, you use temp directory. Oh yeah, sync is mostly we use to backup, or not only backup or there's so many use cases for sync. Okay, we'll see that. Like for cloning and all, data cloning, there's so many use cases for syncing the data. Rsync you can use. Rsync will always copy the differential data. SCP will always copy the full data. All right, so I am in Ubuntu machine, and let's say I want to do SSH to that machine, the center's machine. I know its IP address, and for some reason some connectivity is not happening between two machines. So you have one very simple tool called as telnet, which can be used for troubleshooting. So you can say telnet 192.168.0.5 and the port number. If this works, it says connected. That means we have a connection from this Ubuntu machine to this machine on port 22. So port 22 is listening on this IP, and I can access it. So I can now start copying the data or take an SS session, stuff like that. Okay, control and this caret symbol. Okay, quit. Probably port number 80. Yeah, that is also connected. Port 80, there is HTTP service running over there. Okay. But let's say port 21, connection refused. Okay. Or also let's log in back and let's shut down HTTP service. Service HTTPD stop. So when I stop the service, it will stop listening on port 80. Now let's try to connect on port 80 with telnet. Unable to connect, connection refused. Now why the connection is refused or why you're not able to connect, there could be several reasons. The service itself is not running on that port, or service is running or it's running on a different port. Okay, there is a firewall in between your computer and the target machine on this IP, and there is a firewall which is blocking the connection. Are you noting these things down? These are important for troubleshooting. You're not able to connect one computer to another computer. Whenever there is a connection, the connection will happen on the port number. Keep that in mind. You'll be using any of the protocol and there will be a port number. So there could be a firewall in between these two. Okay, the service is running on the server, but it's running on a different port. That's possible. We do it for security reasons. Service itself is not running, it's crashed, something happened. Okay, so these are three common reasons why you won't be able to connect two systems together. All good? So I'll send you in the email some commands and some link, go through it, some nice commands of the network. This is very important, and I keep saying it again and again for so many things, but yes, when you are connecting multiple services, being DevOps, you'll be dealing with heterogeneous system, heterogeneous environment. Okay, different system, different services, different port number, and there will be so many times you'll get a problem where they're not able to connect two services. And I'm going to throw so many situations like that on your face while I'm doing some work, and then I'll ask you, okay, what's happening, why I'm not able to connect, and you got to tell me how do I troubleshoot. Okay, if I'm not able to connect, probably I will go and check the status of the service. It's stopped, so I will start it. Service IP tables status. Service IP table started. There is no configuration file anyways. So IP tables is a firewall in CentOS 6. Okay, in Ubuntu the firewall is UFW, service UFW status. Now we have a new firewall called as firewall D, which is in CentOS 7 onwards, or Red Hat Enterprise Linux 7 onwards. Firewall D, it's very nice, very easy to set up actually. All right, okay, so that's so many things. Now we'll end the session for today. Okay, we have hosted a site website also. What is the command to check all services together? ps-ef, man. Service in processes only. Yeah, of course. Like you're talking about service status all, there's no such command. Okay, like in systemctl there is a command which can see all the active services. Anyways, find it with ps-ef. Or you can check all the enabled services that comes up at the boot time. Okay, right, so that's all for today. I have one exercise for you, actually two things for you. One, set up MySQL service on any OS you feel like. Okay, like Ubuntu or CentOS, whatever you feel like. Based on that, the commands will be different, keep that in mind. So setup means you have to install MySQL. Okay, start and enable its service. Okay, then log into MySQL. You do one more thing, MySQL _secure installation. Once you're done with MySQL installation, started the service and all, then you run this command. This will ask you some question. All right, you have to answer those questions where you will set the MySQL root password. Once you set up the username and password, then log into MySQL. So there is a different kind of login to MySQL command line interface. Okay, once you log in, create a database there named account. And don't ask me commands, find it on the internet on any version you feel like, your choice. This is not working, that is working, whatever you feel like. You can bring all the 4 operating systems, different versions, and then you can do it on all also. That's your choice, I leave that up to you. So create a database named account, and then create a user named admin. Okay, set up password. Now these are no Linux command. Okay, these are MySQL command. These are no Linux command, MySQL command. I don't want you to be a genius in MySQL, don't worry, just do this much, that's fine. And one more important thing is enable remote access. So when you set up MySQL, you should be able to access the MySQL service from a different VM. All right. And all you have to do this one is you have to do research. If you have never done it, it's amazing. It's good. Okay. Enable remote access. And till here, you should be done by Monday. This one, if you're not able to do, don't worry. Take your time. We have time. We have this. It's going to be in our project when we set up the entire V profile. So I'm going to do this in front of you, but you should be already aware of it by that time. All right. All good. Okay. Just a moment. All right, yeah, sorry. So that would be all for today. I will see you on Monday. All right. Now I'll answer that on Monday, VJ. All right. You good with the exercise? All right, then. Happy weekend. Take care. Bye bye. And please practice and don't waste your weekend. Do this one. I'll see you on Monday with cloud computing. All right. Take care. Bye bye.